like all the war and everything else is a distraction from the Epstein stuff, or if the Epstein stuff is a distraction from the fascism.
Wow.
Because like, let's look at what's going on this week
Oh my
in
goodness, yes.
American streets, right? Okay, so for all the talk of political violence being coming from the radical left, right? We have the Daily Caller this week, the editor at large, okay, not just some schmuck columnist, Jeffrey Ingersoll, writes a column titled "Enough is Enough, I Choose Violence," writing that there should be a cost, a violent one, for the lies, for the taking the American people for granted, for selling them out at every end, for bullying them nonstop. He said, let's reinstitute the cost, moving past the legal violence. Let's get to the actual violence, shall we? That's pretty explicit. But let's take a look at the legal violence briefly, shall we? So this week, the FBI fired at least 15 agents Friday in connection with their actions during the George Floyd protests. What did they do wrong? How did these FBI agents violate policy during those George Floyd protests? Did they smash some heads in? Did they go above and beyond their duties to incite violence? No. They took a knee. They tried to diffuse the situation. So there's some legal violence, some more legal violence we saw this week when the Department of Justice indicted former FBI Director James Comey. Very weak indictment, if you ask all the legal experts. It's only about 2 pages long, and it alleges that he falsely testified to Congress in 2020 about authorizing someone to be an anonymous source in news stories. The indictment alleges that Comey made a false statement in testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee, apparently in an interaction with Senator Ted Cruz. So, now, Jennifer, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't James Comey kind of help Trump get elected by announcing that Hillary Clinton was under investigation
a
week before the election in 2016?
I remember that. That does not matter. I don't think Trump feels like he owes people favors at all, and he's got a list of people. But you are correct. I very much remember that happening. I can see it.
See,
yeah.
And Scott, you haven't gone down this angle, but this is one that people should be aware of, and we need, in all of the stuff, there are certain things we need to watch. And one of them is the talk about, we're going to send the National Guard to Memphis. We're going to send the National Guard to Portland. We're going to send the National Guard to pick a place. I live in Fort Wayne, which is considered a refuge city. I'm expecting at some point in time that they're going to say it's time to send in the National Guard because the crime is out of control. I can walk the street in Fort Wayne at any time I want to without any fear. There is no crime wave. There is no issue, except that we accept immigrants. So
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because just Friday, President Trump has ordered the deployment of troops to Portland, Oregon, authorizing full force if needed to suppress protests, targeting ICE detention centers. Now, listen, I have family out there on the West Coast. I was in Portland this summer. Turns out, not a war zone. Very lovely place.
So what's the point then, Scott?
They have some homeless problems.
Ratings. Just wants attention. Get on the news. I mean, honestly, I keep saying these are like the worst. It's the worst rock band in all of history. As a singer-songwriter, they just want attention. But their songs stink. They didn't take the time to learn how to play an instrument or, develop a real true talent. They just want attention. And it's time for them to just get off the stage. They are, it's not good entertainment. It's just entertainment.
And Leslie, this is probably the only time I'm going to disagree with you, because I think there's another thing at play, and that is getting people accustomed to the idea of having the military everywhere you go.
Absolutely.
Because it's one little step from that into What? Martial law.
Mm-hmm.
And if
You're
we
absolutely
have
right.
martial law, there won't be elections.
You're absolutely right about that. I'm just saying, like, I was watching
I know.
pictures
Well,
that
I'm
people
with
are
you.
posting
Yeah.
of Portland saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, look at this. We're out here having a picnic." It's
Yeah.
like, here's the reality. You're
Yeah.
trying to create this smoke-filled, gun blasting,
Yeah.
crime reality. That's not reality. It's like their reality. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they want to
And
create a different reality.
unfortunately, we have a generation of people who have forgotten Kent State. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
served proudly in the Army National Guard, but I was never trained for civilian peacekeeping. That was never the mission. You know, it's still not the mission of the Army National Guard to go in and keep the peace. Let's support the police officers who are on the ground, the sheriff's departments, and all of these people who are dealing with crime when it happens. Let's not send in people, let's not send the Marines, for God's sake, to Los Angeles. 700 Marines. Why? The Marines go in when governments need to be changed. You know, they're the first in and last out. They do the dirty work. Really? Do
Yeah,
we need to
you
send
can
them to
see.
Los Angeles? No.
Yeah, you can see the administration just trying to provoke a response. They did it in
Yeah.
Chicago over this past weekend. I've got notes in here about that. There's the Broadview neighborhood in Chicago. There's this massive ICE facility there. People have been protesting it all week. The village of Broadview was told by ICE that there will be a shit show, end quote, in Broadway today. ICE is in Chicago trying to provoke a response.
Yeah.
This follows the incident on a Wednesday in Dallas where someone shot at an ICE facility. Now they say that the intended targets were ICE, but detainees were the people who were hit. One man was killed, two others were injured. And Kash Patel, the FBI director, is posting within hours bullet casings on social media that say anti-ICE written on them. I don't know if I trust anything coming out of this government anymore. That's going to tie in with our one big thing.